Hey, everyone. Tonight, we're descending the dark stairs of Victorian London, not into a ballroom or a pompous opera house. Illusion. We're stepping into a world where pleasure was sold with yellow teeth and youth wore down like cheap soap. You're not the owner. Tonight, you work here because tonight, you're going to live the brutal routine of a Victorian brothel before diving into this life of perfumed exhaustion and muffled pain. Hit like if you enjoy these grim journeys we take together, and tell me, where are you watching from and what time is it there? Because in here, time doesn't pass, it drags. Now, turn off the lights. Maybe turn on a fan if you have one. Close your eyes and let yourself be forgotten between thin walls and worn mattresses. You are born on a foggy morning. No one told her another one was coming. The birth happens in the basement of a narrow house in Whitechapel, between a leak and a cat that belongs to no one. Your first blanket is an old apron. Your first affectionate touch comes from a prostitute named Elsie, whose front teeth are loose and who laughs like she always swallows the pain along with it. She cleans you with a piece of curtain. She gives you the name no one will remember. You grow up seeing legs. Legs going up, legs going down, legs shaking, and muffled cries through very thin walls. The world is made of voices that change tone and coins that jingle quickly and disappear even faster. You learn to walk by dodging lifted skirts and broken bottles. You learn to listen without listening, to exist without being noticed. By 7, you're helping clean, first sweeping, then scrubbing semen and bloodstains out of sheets with cold water and ash soap. The smell never fully leaves, not the clothes, not the soul. You don't go to school. You learn math by counting coins. You learn biology from whispered filth and watching bodies in motion. You learn history through the scars of those trying to drink their past away until even their name is gone. At 10, you start serving tea to the clients. Many prefer when you stick around. Pretty little thing, looks like a doll, they say, smiling in a way that isn't a smile. It's a warning, and everyone pretends not to see. You learn that the world doesn't care about children, especially poor children. Especially poor children who live where company is sold by the hour. You learn not to ask questions. You learn to lower your eyes, to obey. And when you don't, you learn the taste of soap in your mouth and a belt on your back. By 12, you're on the payroll. Not officially, of course. No one registers a body like yours, but you work. And everyone knows what that means. You don't fully understand what's about to happen to you, but you feel it. You already feel it when a client stares too long. You feel it when someone touches you without reason. It's raining, but not outside, inside your chest. You're scrubbing the floor, your knees red and raw, when Madame Sybil calls your name. Sybil doesn't shout, she purrs. That's how you know it's serious. She only purrs when she wants something unpleasant done quietly. She takes you by the wrist and leads you to room 4. The walls are floral, the mirror cracked. There's a man sitting on the edge of the bed, smelling like gin and mothballs. His mustache twitches when he smiles. This one wants someone new, she says. Don't ruin it. You stand there, heart drumming like a broken machine. He lifts your chin, examines you like meat in a butcher's window. Then the door closes, and your childhood ends without ceremony. You don't remember everything. Your mind learned to blur. night, Elsie holds you. She doesn't say anything. She just lights a cigarette and lets you lean on her shoulder like you're made of ashdod. And now, you're one of them, officially one of the girls. You're still too small for most clients. That makes you more expensive. The regulars like you. Not for who you are, but for what you're not. You learn to wear rouge, to fake moans, to dissociate. You become good at pretending you're not there. Sybil teaches you how to manage your tips, which is to say, she takes them for protection, she says. Not out loud. You start counting the cracks on the ceiling. 17 above your bed, 12 in the hallway. You memorize the rhythm of footsteps. You learn which floorboards creak and which ones. Warn, there's no day off, no escape, only cycles. You bleed, you hide it, you cry, you swallow it, you ache, you keep moving. The older girls talk about men like weather. Some bring storms, some only drizzle, but all of them leave mud behind. You begin to understand the language of survival. Not words, looks, silences. The way someone moves their hair behind their ear can mean danger. Your ribs grow sharper. You eat little, sleep less. Some days you don't recognize your reflection, but you never break. Not really. You bend, you warp, you twist into something unrecognizable. And that, you learn, is how you survive. You develop habits, rituals. You wash between clients, even when there's no time. You scrub until your skin burns. The scent of rosewater and rot clings to your fingers, no matter what. You try to control what little you can. Your bed, your comb, your breath. There's a mirror near the staircase. You avoid it, because sometimes it shows your mother's face, or worse, nothing at all. One day, a girl dies. Her name was May. She was 17. Nobody asks. May is gone by morning. Her things already claimed. Her room occupied. Her name slips away like smoke. You learn not to get too close. Who hits? Who cries afterward? The ones who ask your name. The ones who refuse to use it. Your body starts to change. Breasts, hips, everything becomes more marketable. That's what Sybil says. You're blooming, she grins. You want to rip your skin off. You stop being a novelty. You become routine. The same way tea gets served. The same way sheets are changed. But every now and then, there's blood on the floor, and no one says a word. You try not to think of the outside. The world beyond the brothel feels like a rumor. You catch glimpses through the window, carriages, children with shoes, the rare burst of laughter. It's all fantasy. You belong to the inside now. Your legs ache, your back aches, even your eyes ache, but you smile when you have to. You laugh when expected. You perform. Some clients like to talk. You listen. You nod. You pretend you care. You learn their secrets, and you never speak them. You become their confessional booth, soft and forgettable. And each night, you return to your cot. You close your eyes. You try to float. You imagine water, a river, cold and fast. Something that carries you far from here. But you always wake up to the same cracked ceiling, the same sounds, the same smell of perfume and rot. Because this is your life now, and no one is coming to save you. You learn to lie with your face. That's part of the job. Wide eyes, tilted head, half smile. The performance becomes instinct. There's a man with gold buttons on his coat who visits every Thursday. He brings pastries, and wants to brush your hair. He never touches you, not like the others. He just talks about music, about trains, about his mother. You start to crave his Thursdays like sugar. He smells like ink and paper. He calls you darling, but never your name. Maybe he doesn't know it. Maybe he prefers not to. 1 week, he doesn't come. Then another. You wait by the window longer than usual. He never returns. You never ask why. That's the rule. No questions, just silence, perfume, and routine. Sybil teaches you to work the room. She says men want to feel like kings, even when they smell like pigs. Laugh at their jokes, touch their arm, look them in the eye, but not too much. You wear corsets too tight and shoes too small. Pain becomes shape. Pain becomes beauty. Your hips swell into currency. Your skin is your resume. Your smile, a weapon. At night you whisper prayers you don't believe to saints you've never seen. Not for salvation, just for fewer bruises. Elsie coughs more. The others avoid her room. You still visit. She's slower now, her eyes dull. One night she says, "Don't let them take your name. That's all that's yours." You think about your name. You haven't heard it in weeks, maybe months. You whisper it to yourself sometimes, just to make sure it still fits. Then, one morning, Elsie's bed is empty. You take her comb, her scent, still clings to it. It makes you cry, but only for a minute, because there's a knock on the door, and someone new needs a smile. You begin to fade. Not physically, you're still there, still solid. But inside, something soft dissolves. You stop flinching when they call you girl. You stop correcting the ones who get your age wrong. Younger means more money. You learn to read the room in one glance. Which men want to hurt, which want to be hurt, which want to pretend they're in love. There's a man who pays to cry. He lies beside you, fully clothed, and weeps into the pillow. You pat his back. You say nothing. It's the easiest hour of your week. You get better at silence. You start speaking only in nods and eyes. Words become dangerous. Too much talking leads to too much feeling. You bleed more often. The midwife says it's stress, or your heart, or something else entirely. She shrugs. Drink tea. Your hair begins to thin. You hide it with pins and powder. Sybil says you need to maintain appearances. Freshness sells. You practice your expressions in the cracked mirror, the soft laugh, the pout, the dreamy look. You mold yourself like clay, always smoothing, always erasing. One night, a client hits you hard enough to split your lip. He apologizes, then tips you double. Sybil gives you a slice of his coin. "You're a good girl," she says. You nod, because what else can you do? You start dreaming in red, walls soaked with it, sheets soaked with it, your hands soaked with it. You wake up, choking on your own breath. But the floor is cold, the room is real, and someone's knocking. Always knocking. You rise. You wash your face. You paint your lips. You open the door, because the routine doesn't wait, and neither does the rot. You become 20 without knowing when it happened. There's no cake, no candles, just another night with a man who can't look you in the eye. Your joints creak now. Your left ankle throbs when it rains. You know the sound of your own bones shifting. You know the weight of stairs in the middle of the night, how every step costs a fraction of your future. Clients start calling you Madam in jest. You laugh, hollow and rehearsed, but you hear it. You're aging. You're nearing expiration. A girl arrives fresh from the countryside, 17, blushes too easily, cries after every session. Sybil assigns you to train her. Her name is Alice. She still believes things can change. You teach her how to breathe quietly, how to tuck pain behind her teeth, how to smile just enough. You show her how to apply rouge to disguise tears, how to fold herself into something less threatening, how to keep her voice low when saying no if she dares. She watches you with wide eyes. You're so strong, she whispers. You almost laugh, you almost cry. Instead, you tell her the truth. I'm not strong. I'm just still here. You begin to see parts of yourself in her, the way she flinches at loud voices, the way she holds her breath before every knock. You want to warn her, you want to scream, but all that ever comes out is a nod, a slight smile, a gentle pat on the shoulder. At night, you lie in bed with your eyes open. You think of the girl you were, the one scrubbing floors, clutching dirty rags. You wonder where she went. You wonder if she's still inside, buried beneath layers of lipstick, blood, and silence. One morning, you wake up with blood on your pillow. Not from your mouth, not from anywhere you can see. The midwife shrugs, body's tired. You should rest. Rest, that's a luxury here. Rest doesn't pay. Rest is for the dead. You force yourself upright. Your knees ache. Your back stings. You paint on your face and step into the hallway. Alice is there, waiting for you. Teach me that laugh again, she says, trying to mimic the one you taught. Her light, teasing, detached. You laugh for real this time. It hurts, but it keeps you alive. You begin to disappear in slow motion, not from the world, but from yourself. It starts subtly. You forget your birthday, the names of old clients, the sound of your own laughter. You look in the mirror and see a version of you that's been handled too roughly, too long. Hair brittle, eyes tired, skin like parchment. You touch your own face like it belongs to someone else. Sybil starts suggesting new opportunities. You know what that means. Moving girls to different houses, rougher clients, cheaper rooms, places where bruises aren't just accidents, they're expectations. You pack a bag and then unpack it. You walk to the door and turn back. You stare out the window but never leave. The world beyond seems like fiction. Cobblestone streets, gas lamps flickering, children playing, a bakery with warm bread and no hands grabbing at you, but it's too far, too quiet. It feels like remembering a story someone else told you. You remember your mother's hands, her, humming a lullaby you haven't heard in years, tries to surface, but the words are gone. You mouth the tune, incomplete. Alice hears you and joins in. She knows a version of it. Together, it becomes something new, something broken and beautiful. One day, Alice finds you staring at the cracked wall. You don't remember when you sat down. You okay? She asks. You want to say yes. You want to say no. You say nothing. Because by now, you've learned that silence is safer than the truth. You start sleeping with one hand clenched. You wake up with fingernail marks on your palm. You dream of drowning, not in water, but in fabric, in perfume, in hands that don't let go. Clients come and go. Some don't remember your face. Some ask for Alice now. You feel it, the shift. You are no longer the center. You are the frame, the backdrop, the shadow. One night, you watch Alice laugh too loudly with a client. You see her sip from a chipped glass. Her eyes glaze slightly, not from wine, but from understanding. She's learning, quickly. You wish she wouldn't. That night, you write your name on a scrap of paper. Just your name. You fold it and hide it under your mattress. A relic, a refusal, because if they take your name, there's nothing left to take. The room at the end of the hall is always locked. No one talks about it. You once asked Sybil what was inside, and she answered with a look that shut your mouth for a week. But one night, you pass it, and the door is ajar. Inside, silence, dust, a cracked chair, a mirror draped in cloth, a corset hung like a carcass. It smells of perfume long evaporated, and something colder, something like memory. You step inside. The floor creaks under your bare feet. You don't know why you entered. Curiosity, maybe. Or maybe you needed to see what happens to women who vanish without leaving. You sit on the edge of the bed and breathe. It feels sacred, like a chapel, made of sorrow. Behind you, Alice's voice. They say the girl who stayed here cut her own hair off before she disappeared. You look at the mirror. You want to tear the cloth off, see the reflection, face the version of yourself already gone, but you don't. You back away. You shut the door. You leave the ghost alone. That night, you lie awake for hours, wondering if you've already disappeared in some room of your own. A cold snap hits the city. Pipes freeze, breath clouds the air indoors. Sybil hands out blankets made of horsehair and hope. Not enough. You and Alice huddle close at night, knees touching under thin sheets. She tells stories, ones she half remembers from her mother. You pretend to listen. Really, you're watching the window, wondering what it would feel like to step outside and not come back. A fire breaks out in a rival house 3 streets over. Girls burn. Clients scatter like rats. Everyone here pretends it was an accident. You smell the smoke for days. Sybil makes new rules. Less warmth, more vigilance, more clients. The men are colder, too rougher. Something in the frost hardens them. You learn to shield your ribs better, to tuck your arms under yourself, to bite the inside of your cheek until it bleeds, just to stay still. You bleed anyway. You always do. One night, Alice doesn't come back to the room. Morning comes. Number 1 speaks. You check every bed, every hallway. Finally, Sybil says she's been moved. Promotion, she smirks. but her eyes don't meet yours. You know what it means. You don't ask. You sit in the spot where Alice used to braid her hair and hold the last pin she left behind. You don't cry, not until later, not until the door knocks again and your voice comes out of your throat like rust. Coming, you say, but you're not sure you are. You start chewing cloves to cover the smell of despair. Sybil notices. She tells you it's a waste of money, but you keep doing it. Some things are worth the cost. A client asks your name, and for the first time in weeks, you almost say it. Almost instead. You offer the alias they gave you years ago, sweet, forgettable, safe. You pass the ghost room again, still locked, but now you imagine voices behind it, not screams, whispers, a collective murmur of all the women who lived here and then vanished like mist. The floorboards under your bed creak in a rhythm now. You swear they're saying something, not words, just pressure. Echoes. One morning, you wake up and your hair is matted with sweat and someone else's perfume. You don't remember how it got there. You wash it 3 times and it still clings. You start writing things down, not a diary, just words, 1 per page. Pain, window, name, gone. You hide the pages under the floorboard. They become your secret religion. Another girl goes missing. Her name was Clara. She had freckles and a laugh that always ended in a snort. No one says her name aloud, but you write it. Page 40-7. You walk differently now, slower. Every movement feels like an effort to drag your body through molasses. Still, you move, because that's what you do. You move, you work, you serve, you disappear, piece by piece, politely. She shows up without warning. A new girl, no older than 16. Her ribbon is red, too red. It feels like defiance. She walks with the confidence of someone not yet broken. Sybil smiles. The clients adore her. The other girls avoid her. You try not to care, but you notice how she watches you, like she's trying to guess your story without asking. One night, she offers you a piece of bread, warm, soft, almost kind. You refuse it. You've learned that kindness costs more than cruelty. She shrugs and eats it herself. A week passes, then 2. Her eyes lose their shine, just a little. Her ribbon loosens. One morning, she cuts it shorter. You find her crying behind the laundry. She wipes her face and says it's nothing. You nod. That's how it starts. You sit beside her. You don't speak. Eventually, she rests her head on your shoulder. For a moment, you forget the smell of rot. Then someone calls your name, the fake one, the working one, and you go. But something stays, a thread, a tether. And later that night, when she falls asleep beside you, you tuck her ribbon into your palm like a promise not yet broken. The girl with the ribbon has a name. You heard it once, whispered by Sybil when she thought no one was listening. Miriam, you don't say it out loud. Names are fragile things here, too easily broken, too easily stolen. Miriam still wakes up early, still brushes her hair like she's going somewhere, still folds her clothes with care. You envy that, the way she believes, despite everything, That order protects her. That preparation matters. Sybil assigns her to your routine. You become her guide through this theater of repetition and performance. You show her where to find the clean towels, the ones not soaked through with last night. You explain how to breathe through your mouth when it smells of mold and sweat and worse. You point out the clients who ask for girls who don't talk much. You teach her the fake laugh, the tilt of the head, the way to wince just slightly enough to make them feel powerful, but not cruel. You warn her never to cry where anyone can see it. She listens. She learns quickly. In the evenings, you hear her practicing lines in the mirror. You hear her repeat phrases. That's funny. You're very strong. I've never done this before. Like mantras, like spells, she becomes what she needs to be. Small, pretty, compliant. But her eyes still flick toward you when Sybil enters the room. She watches your posture, the stillness you wear like a corset. She's afraid, but not just of Sybil, of what she might become one night. She asks you if you remember your first time. You lie. You say it was blurry, forgettable. You leave out the parts with blood, with shaking, with silence so thick it wrapped around your throat like a rope. Instead, you offer a version of the story that tastes less like ash, something manageable, something survivable. She nods, grateful. She wants to believe it'll be okay. You let her. Later, you write down another word in your secret book, mercy. There are whispers of inspections, policemen, magistrates, morality, campaigns. Sybil grows tense. She stops smiling with her teeth. She hisses instructions behind closed doors. Rooms are scrubbed harder. Girls are told to dress more modestly, as if lace and ribbons can disguise the stench of desperation. One afternoon, you are ordered to act younger, childlike, Sybil says. They prefer innocence now. You're 23. You smear soot under your eyes to hollow them out. You wear a dress 2 sizes too small. Your reflection makes you nauseous. The inspector never comes. Maybe he was paid off. Maybe he never existed. The charade fades, but something inside you doesn't reset. You keep the small dress. You keep the soot. It becomes part of the costume. You watch Miriam shrink herself too. She starts eating less, smiling more. You find her crying less often. That worries you more than the tears did. One night, a client locks the door from inside. The sound of the bolt makes your skin crawl. You lean against the wall and count the seconds. 57. Then silence. Then weeping. Then footsteps. Miriam won't meet your eyes for days. When she finally does, it's like looking into a broken mirror. Familiar, warped, and silent. You find the dress one morning folded on your cot. Pale blue, trimmed with white lace, like something from a doll maker's window. Too delicate for this place. Too soft. It doesn't belong here. Sybil calls it a special request. A man from the north, wealthy, well-connected. You've had worse. You've had quieter. What terrifies you is the dress. It's not made for work. It's made for erasure. You put it on. Miriam helps with the buttons. Her hands tremble. You pretend not to notice. The man arrives late, tall, gloves on, doesn't speak much. He nods. He examines you like a painting. In poor lighting, you smile, practiced and hollow. The room is already warm. Lit candles, red curtains, a single flower in a glass. This is not about pleasure. This is about possession. He asks you to stand still. He circles you. His breath is quiet, measured. He touches your chin with gloved fingers and says, "Perfect." You feel like a mannequin. He doesn't undress you. He leaves you standing. He says he just wanted to see what stillness looked like, and then he's gone. You don't move for a long time. Sybil is pleased. "You did well," she says. "He may return." You hope he doesn't, but hope has no currency here. You fold the dress and place it back where it came from. It smells like candle wax and sweat. Miriam asks you what it felt like disappearing. You answer. She nods. You both know what that means. The next week, 2 girls vanish. No goodbyes, just empty beds. Their names are not spoken. Their linens are washed. Their space is filled. Miriam stops brushing her hair. You stop writing new words. One night, she climbs into your bed and whispers, "If we leave, would anyone notice?" You don't answer, because you've thought about it too, and the truth is heavier than silence. Instead, you hold her tighter and listen to the house breathing around you, the wooden ribs, the ghosted steps, the ceiling that never blinks. Somewhere beneath all of it, you feel the weight of every girl who ever asked that question, and every girl who didn't wait for the answer. You begin rehearsing escape the way others rehearse small talk, not out loud, just in your head, at night, while brushing your hair. One hand strokes the strands, the other maps the alley behind the house, the crooked brick near the kitchen door, the sound the floorboard makes by the east stair. You collect crumbs, pins, soap slivers, not because they'll help, but because they're yours. Control is a fiction you cling to. Miriam watches. She knows. She doesn't ask. You both pretend everything is fine while storing bread, crusts under mattresses, and memorizing guard shifts that don't exist. The brothel breathes in patterns. You know when Sybil sleeps. You know when the night girl sneaks gin. You know which window groans, which hinge protests, but knowing doesn't mean leaving. Wanting doesn't mean doing. Some nights, you walk to the back corridor and stare at the locked door that leads to the alley. You place your palm against it and try to imagine it open. You try to believe that your feet might move forward if it ever did. Miriam dreams out loud, sometimes. Names of places, seaside towns, tea shops, rooms with wallpaper and no locks. You let her speak. You need it too. One night, she says, "I think we should go." You say, "How?" She doesn't answer, but the question stays between you, breathing, watching, waiting. A new girl arrives. 14. Her name is Ruth. She bites her nails and keeps her eyes down. The first time you see her, she's wearing shoes 2 sizes too big and clutching a broken comb. You want to take her away. You want to run, but you don't. Instead, you teach her how to walk without being noticed, how to nod without agreeing, how to make her face unreadable. She listens. she learns, and another piece of you calcifies. Miriam grows thinner, her hair dulls, her laughter, once quiet and real, becomes the kind that stings. She works more now. Sybil promotes her. She gets better rooms, longer hours. She bleeds more often. She stops, sleeping beside you. You pretend it's nothing, but the empty space burns. You begin to dream of the alley again, but this time you see her walking it alone. You wake up before she disappears. She appears one evening just after dusk, when the sky bruises purple. Across the alley, in a second-story window, a woman sitting, watching. She's still there, pale dress, hands in her lap, a shadow behind her, like a curtain or a man. You can't tell. You nudge Miriam. Look, she squints. I don't see anything, but the woman watches you. And you watch her for days, weeks, always at dusk, never moving, never gone. She becomes part of your routine. Like bruises, like tea, you begin to wonder, is she real? Is she another you? A future version? A warning? Sometimes you wave. She doesn't respond, but you feel it. The pressure, the knowing, the mirror across the alley. One night she isn't. There you wait. 10 minutes, 20, an hour. Still nothing. You sleep badly. The next night she returns, but her head is turned. Her hair is unbraided. Her hands not visible. She looks less like you and more like Miriam. Ruth asks you what it means to be free. You say you don't know, but you remember once running barefoot through a flooded street as a child, chasing something, maybe a ball, maybe a bird, and laughing like the sky belonged to you. That might have been freedom, or maybe it was just movement. You find Miriam in the washroom, staring at the cracked glass. Her mouth is bruised, her shoulder is stiff. She sees you in the mirror and says, I think I'm almost gone. You shake your head. Not yet, but you both feel it. The fade, the unraveling. She says she wants to leave, truly this time. Not dream, not pretend. You nod, but when you ask, tonight, she steps back. No, she says soon. You don't press, because you've said the same thing too many times yourself that night. The woman in the window watches with her hands pressed flat against the glass. You stare back, and for the first time, you feel seen, not as an object, not as a shadow, but as someone who could still decide. Soon becomes a season, a word that stretches across days and settles into bones. You wait for Miriam to whisper again, to tap your hand in the dark and say, now. But she DOESN, single quotes, T dot. Instead, she grows quieter. Her laugh evaporates. Her footsteps become softer. She moves like someone trying not to leave a mark. You find her, ribbon on your pillow one morning, frayed, unwound. You don't know if it's a gift, a goodbye, or a warning. Sybil announces a visitor, a patron with influence. He's brought wine from France and cigarettes from Cairo. He's dressed in navy velvet and has teeth too white for London. Everyone is to be on their best behavior. You're chosen. Miriam's eyes meet yours across the hallway. There's no protest in her, just the kind of silence that flattens everything around it. The man smells like lavender and smoke. He compliments your posture, your wrists, your ability to stay still. He speaks softly, like a priest. He doesn't hurt you. He frightens you anyway. He talks about women like your creatures. He studies. You feel everything too deeply, he says, stroking your hand. But that's what makes you valuable. You smile, hollow, safe. Performed later. Miriam asks what he was like. You say, he didn't touch me. She nods. She understands. The weight in that phrase. That night, Ruth cuts her hair. No one tells her to. No one stops her. She leaves it in a pile beside the cot. When Sybil sees, she laughs. You look like a rat now. No one pays for rats. But Ruth smiles, wide, real. You and Miriam watch in silence. Something flickers between you. Not envy, not fear. Something else. Hope, maybe. And then, that same night, Ruth is gone. No goodbye. No sounds. No explanation. To hear Sybil muttering, angry, stomping, slamming drawers. You check under Ruth's mattress. Nothing. You sit on her empty cot and feel a strange pull in your chest. Grief. Braided with awe. She did it. She left. She disappeared. Without permission. And suddenly you realize that the door was never locked. You start standing by the window again. Not to dream. To measure. The alley. The wall. The space between now and what might be possible. Miriam joins you. Her face thinner. Her eyes darker. But she stands. That's something. We could do it, she says one night. I knew it. Say nothing, but your fingers press tighter around the frame. You begin to hide things again. Matches, coins, a small loaf wrapped in cloth. Enough for one night. Enough for the first 10 steps. Sybil gets restless. She paces more. Her voice sharpens. She starts searching beds, whispering to clients, watching you both too closely. You bury the cloth under a floorboard. You keep the matches in your bodice. The house grows colder, not in temperature, in presence. The walls feel closer. The girls move faster. No one sings anymore. Miriam loses a tooth. The back one. No one notices except you. She puts it in your hand like a prayer. This is my anchor, she jokes. You keep it. One afternoon, the window across the alley is open. Curtains fluttering. The woman is gone. You stare into the space she used to occupy. It feels wrong. Empty in a way that steals air. You turn to Miriam. Tonight, you say. She nods. You don't pack. You just move slowly, precisely, like dancers. In a final performance, the floor doesn't creak. The lock doesn't catch. You step into the alley. You don't look back. Not at first, but 10 paces out. Miriam freezes. She says, I can't. You stop, she cries. I want to, but I can't. You take her hand. She pulls away. You stand there, frozen, wind against your teeth. The open dark in front of you. She whispers, I'm sorry. And she runs. Back inside, the door closes, and you are alone in the night, in freedom, or something shaped like it. You walk past crates and shutters, past the flicker of lanterns behind fogged glass. Your breath moves in and out like a ghost learning lungs. You feel like you were just born, but too late. The city doesn't welcome, it watches, it judges. You don't belong to it yet, maybe never will. The first hour is adrenaline, the second, doubt. By the third, your feet begin to blister. You reach a church, not for sanctuary, just for its shadows. You sit behind it, lean against the stone, press your palms together without thinking. You don't pray, you've forgotten the words, but the stillness holds you. A woman passes, doesn't stop, doesn't stare. You envy her ability to ignore you. You sleep behind crates, wake to pigeons, find a half-eaten apple on a ledge, and bite it slowly. Everything tastes like defiance. You walk until you forget what time feels like. Someone tries to touch you near the docks. You snarl, not with strength, but memory. They back off. You survive. You speak to no one, but you keep walking. By the fifth day, your body demands shelter. You find a laundress's alley. Offer your hands. She studies you, nods. She doesn't ask who you were, only wants to know if you can scrub. You can. You earn crusts, a cot, a place to be invisible and alive. The water is cold, the soap is harsh, but your hands move with purpose. You scrub as if you're erasing your former self. And every evening, before bed, you whisper the names of those still inside. Miriam, Ruth, Elsie, Clara, May, the girl who looked like you, the girl who never got a name. You don't cry, but you do remember, and that, somehow, is its own act of resistance. The laundress's name is Agatha. She has one good eye and a laugh like broken bells. She doesn't ask about your past, only watches your hands. If they move, you stay. You become part of her house. Quietly, you take the small bed near the stove. You learn how to fold without creasing, how to boil cloth until it stops smelling of men. Agatha lets you keep to yourself. She nods at your silence, like it's a language she speaks. At night, you visit the docks, not to leave, just to watch the water. You whisper names to the Thames and imagine it carrying them somewhere safer. One night, you see her, Miriam, across the street. Pale dress, slower gait, thinner face. You freeze. She doesn't see you. She's not alone. A man beside her, hand on her back, possessive. You don't speak. You just watch until she disappears. Around a corner, you return to Agatha's boil water. Scrub harder than usual. The next day, you write a letter, not to send, just to feel the motion of honesty again. You tell Miriam you saw her, that she looked alive, that you miss her, that you understand. You fold the letter and burn it in the stove. That night, you dream of a house with no doors, just windows that open onto fields. In the dream, you are not waiting, you are not hiding, you are laughing. You wake up with tears on your wrist. Agatha sees, says nothing, hands you a biscuit. You eat it in silence. Outside, it starts to rain. You open the door barefoot and step out into it and let the sky remind you of every drop you've endured. You lose track of days. That's how time softens trauma. It blurs, but your hands remember the burn of lye, the chill of water, the weight of linens soaked in other people's stories. Agatha gives you a heavier bucket, a longer list. it's trust or punishment. You're not sure. You carry it anyway. The neighborhood begins to notice you, not in recognition, in rhythm. You are the girl who scrubs, the girl who never speaks, the girl who doesn't flinch at foulness. Sometimes Agatha speaks to herself, names from long ago. She forgets she's doing it. You pretend not to hear. It's the deal between women who've endured more than they should. One morning, you wake up with a song in your mouth. Not a real one, just a hum, a vibration you haven't felt since before. You don't stop it. You hum while you scrub, while you hang clothes, while you press shirts with stone and heat. You notice something odd. Your shoulders don't ache as much. Your jaw isn't always clenched. The past hasn't gone, but it has shifted. A knock at the door. Unusual, boy, thin, to clean for this part of town. Message for the laundress. Agatha frowns, takes the folded note. Her hands shake as she reads. She says nothing. She burns it in the stove. Later that night, she tells you, without looking up, he found me. You don't ask who. Instead, you wash the teacups more gently. She disappears the next morning. No note, no trail, just her boots by the door. You sit for hours, waiting, not for her, for the grief to land. It doesn't, not in one piece, just in fragments. You keep working, because someone must, and because now it's your house. The house creaks, differently now, without Agatha's mutters. The silence feels heavier, like steam that settles into wood, but it's yours. That truth rings every time you light the stove, or press a blouse with precision. You begin to organize, quietly, systematically. You fix the door that never latched. You mend the cot with your own thread. You sew your initials, just once, into the hem of a rag, a whisper of ownership, turned. Not men, customers, neighbors, women with blistered hands, and boys with torn cuffs. You greet them with a nod and take their baskets. You say your first word in months. Tuesday, they understand. They nod back. Tuesday, for pickup. That's enough. Your hands become your signature. People comment on the softness of shirts, the absence of starch where it matters. Someone leaves you a jar of jam. Another brings a potted plant. You don't thank them, not yet, but you leave a ribbon on the basket as a reply at night. You still think of her Miriam, of whether she stayed or left, or became a name someone else whispers before sleeping. You don't know what's better, forgetting or imagining, but you do. Know this: the stove stays warm, the floors stay swept, the water still boils. One morning, a girl knocks. Young, small, trembling, you know the look. She doesn't ask for help, just stands in the frame, waiting to be turned away. You open the door, you hand her a cloth, you point to the sink, you say, "Start with the whites." She nods, and the steam rises around both of you, because this house doesn't ask, it teaches. The girl's name is Clara, not the Clara who vanished, a new one. But when you hear it, something inside you stirs, like a drawer opening by itself. She doesn't talk much. Good. You don't need noise. You need rhythm. She learns quickly, folds with precision, scrubs until her fingers prune. The neighbors accept her. They nod like she's always been there. Some ask if she's your sister. You say she's learning. It's the only truth you can offer. You teach her the order of things. Whites on Monday, linens on Tuesday, trousers on Wednesday. Steam is for setting the fibers straight. Bleach is the last resort. One day, she burns herself on the iron. She doesn't cry. She hisses, stares at the mark, and keeps working. That's when you know she's stay. She starts to hum, just slightly, when the sun's out. You let her. You even match the tune now and then. Sometimes she leaves flowers by the sink, yellow ones. You don't ask where she gets them. There's talk of new taxes, of tighter laws, of women arrested just for walking in groups. The city, always cruel, grows suspicious of its own poor. A man stops by, a client from before, clean hands, glasses, a coin in his pocket that shines too. Bright dot, he says your name, not the working one, your real name. Clara hears, sees you stiffen. She doesn't speak. You tell the man you don't remember him, that he must be mistaken. He smiles, leaves the shirt anyway. Tuesday, he says, that night you scrub harder. The water goes red from your knuckles. Clara brings a cloth. You take it. You say, thank you. Your voice is quieter than you expected, but real. Clara begins asking questions, not the dangerous kind, the kind that sneak in between chores. Where did you learn to sew like that? What's your favorite tea? Did you always live here? You answer some. You deflect others. You find yourself giving more than you expect. She listens. Like every word is a gift. One evening, she finds your ribbon in the drawer. The old one, Miriam's. You watch her fingers slide over the frayed edge. She was important, Clara asks. You nod. She leave. You pause. Yes, she, okay. You don't answer. She folds the ribbon and places it back. Doesn't push further. The next day, she ties a ribbon of her own into her braid. Not red, blue, soft, and worn. You begin mending clothes, not just for money, but for practice, for craft. Your stitches get neater, finer. Some clients bring pieces they don't even need, just to see what you'll do. You and Clara work side by side. You laugh more now, quietly, but truly. The sound feels awkward at first, like a muscle you forgot to use. At night, you reread old words you wrote under the floorboard. Gone, pain, mercy, name, window, you. Add a new one, return. It doesn't mean going back. It means becoming again. You sleep without nightmares. You wake before the sun. And for the first time in years, you catch yourself thinking about tomorrow. A sharp knock at the door, not the usual kind. It's firm, rhythmic, measured. You open it slowly. A man, not one you know, not from before. He's clean, older, and wears a hat too polished for these streets. He doesn't ask for laundry. He asks for your name, your real one. You don't answer. Clara stands behind you, still as porcelain. The man hands you a card. I represent someone who believes you might be his daughter. You don't laugh. You don't blink. You just stare at the name printed there. You recognize it. Not from your time, from stories, from a ledger Sybil once kept. You close the door, you don't speak of it. Not that day, not the next. You burn the card by the stove, but you remember the address. You remember everything. That night, Clara sits beside you, doesn't ask, just braids your hair and hums. You sleep like stone. The next morning, you leave early, alone. You follow the address. It's real. A townhouse with iron gates, curtains drawn. A boy sweeps the steps. You don't knock, you just look. From the sidewalk, from the shadows, you imagine yourself inside. You imagine a father who doesn't pay for visits, a dining table with conversation, a name you didn't have to hide. You imagine too long, then you turn back to your house, back to the scent of bleach and steam, back to Clara. She's scrubbing. She looks up. You nod. She smiles. You join her, and the steam wraps around both of you again. Not like suffocation, but like safety. Autumn sinks into the bones of the house. The steam rises slower. The nights last longer. You and Clara work with sleeves rolled. Down now, hands red from cold water. She finds a coat in a bundle of donations. It's too big, the lining's torn, but she stitches it carefully, humming all the while. When she wears it, she looks like someone waiting for a train. One morning, she brings you a tin. Inside, 2 boiled sweets and a thimble you dropped. This last week, she says, handing you the thimble. You didn't notice. You take it back, slowly, as if it's something sacred. That night, you check under the floorboard. All your words still there, but something's shifted. You add a new one, keep. Work doesn't slow. If anything, it deepens. You're known now, trusted. Women from farther away bring bundles. One brings her daughter, asks if she can help, just part-time, just to keep her from the streets. You nod. Her name is Joy. She's 12, smiles easily, still has the shape of childhood in her face. Clara teaches her how to fold sheets. You teach her how to hold pins without bleeding. Joy cries the first time. She burns her finger. You wrap it gently, blow on it. Tell her the first is always the worst. You remember saying that to yourself once. That night, all 3 of you eat soup together. The table small but full. You catch your reflection in the window. You almost don't recognize the calm in your posture. You almost don't remember who you were before, but you do. And that's what keeps you steady, not forgetting, choosing to stay anyway. It happens on a Wednesday. The laundry room smells of starch and wood smoke. Clara is rinsing whites. Joy is humming. You are mending a tear in someone's Sunday coat. Then a knock. Not the quick, familiar kind. A patient, gloved knock. You open the door. Miriam, thinner, paler, hair tucked under a gray scarf. Her eyes search your face like it's a book. She lost and just found again. You don't speak, neither does she. You let her in. Joy sets the kettle. Clara slices bread. No questions, just motion. You sit across from Miriam. She doesn't look like someone who's come to stay. She looks like someone who ran out of running. I heard you were here, she says, softly. You nod. I thought maybe. You'd hate me. You shake your head. Not out of forgiveness, out of recognition. You understand the weight she carries. The ache of doors never opened. She sips tea, her hands shake. She pulls a glove from her pocket. Just one. I kept this, she says. From the night I almost left with you. You remember. You remember every inch of that night. You touch the glove. Then let it go. You can stay, you say. She nods, and in that moment, something rearranges inside the house. Not loudly, just enough to make space for one more. You add another bowl to the table. The wood groans, but makes room. Miriam eats slowly, like she's afraid it'll vanish. Clara passes her salt. Joy offers half a biscuit. No one talks about why she's back. Not yet. There's more power in silence than explanation. That night, you bring Miriam blankets. She chooses the cot in the corner near the stove. Feels safest, she says. You nod. You know the feeling. The next morning, she joins in without being asked, stirs the starch, hangs the linens, sings under her breath. Clara watches closely. Joy mimics her hum. You mend quietly, but your stitches are slower, less precise. You're listening too closely at lunch. Miriam says, "You still write." You hesitate, then show her your floorboard. The words, all of them. She reads each one aloud. "Keep," she says, smiling. You nod. She takes a pencil and adds her own. Begin. And the room feels lighter, like something old has been named, and something new has space to grow. Winter hums against the windows. The house groans with old wood and new breath. You light the stove early now. The kettle lives there. Joy wakes first. She's taken to reciting poems while folding. Where she learns them, you don't know. But her voice softens the walls. Knits badly, but with purpose. She's trying to shape comfort from string. Clara smiles more easily now, and when she laughs, it no longer sounds like she's apologizing. You sit at the center, sewing and listening. The sound of fabric, steam, whisper, not silence, not sorrow, warmth. A neighbor brings potatoes, another, dried mint. You make soup that tastes like kindness. When clients come, they leave slower now. Some linger just to talk about nothing, about everything. Miriam answers the door now. She stands taller, no scarf, her hair unbraided, loose like trust. Joy draws chalk on spare paper. Her lines are precise. She sketches the front door, the stove, a pair of hands holding a teacup. She asks if she can draw you. You say yes. She draws your back, hunched over cloth, shoulders steady. It's beautiful. You tape it above the wash basin. It watches over the house like a quiet oath. One night the wind howls so loud it shakes the glass. You all sleep close, like a ring. Miriam whispers, "We're safe." And for once, you believe her. You wake to the scent of cinnamon. Joy found a vendor with stale spice and paid with a sketch. She grins, her nose pink from the cold. You let her. Sprinkle it in the corners. The house smells like memory. Miriam stitches a scarf, her third attempt. Clara teaches Joy how to hold her fingers for delicate lace. You bake, not well, but enough. The bread is dense, but warm. Outside, snow falls like silence made visible. You place pots under the leaks. You laugh when one overflows. The girls join, not polite giggles, real laughter, sharp, round, loud. It fills the house until the noise becomes a kind of snow of its own, falling from their mouths, melting into something holy. A woman knocks. Face you don't know. Eyes like someone who hasn't eaten in a while. She doesn't speak, just hands you a bundle of cloth. A child clings to her leg. You take them in, no discussion. You open the door wide. Miriam makes tea. Clara warms water. Joy fetches the extra blankets. The child doesn't speak. The woman only says one word, thank you. You say, start with the whites. She nods, and the child smiles. Just once, that night, the stove never dims, and when snow gathers on the windowsill, no one wipes it away. It belongs, like everything else you've chosen to keep. The new woman's name is Esme. The child is called Ada. Names shared slowly, like gifts wrapped too tightly. You learn them one quiet evening over bread. Esme doesn't speak often, but when she does, it's with the precision of someone who's had too much taken. Ada doesn't cry. She draws with joy, chalk lines that run across the walls like vines. You let them. Let the house fill with color. Miriam begins, keeping a log of what comes in, what goes out, what's mended, what's fed. She writes in the margins. Notes about the girls, their laughter, their silences, their dreams. Clara calls it the real ledger. You read it at night when everyone's asleep. One note reads, she's learning to smile in her sleep. Know if it's about Joy or you. The child finds your box of words under the floorboard. You expect her to ask. She doesn't. She adds one, here. You tape it above the stove. Snow still falls. Not as heavy now. The sky grays slower. The air speaks of something soft coming. You walk to the market alone. You buy needles and a book. Blank pages, thick spine. Back home you gather every girl, every woman. You write the first sentence. We begin with clean water, Clara adds, and hands that don't tremble, Miriam, and names we don't have to hide, Esme, and food that lasts. Joy draws. A sun, Ada colors it yellow. You close the book. You hold it to your chest, and for the first time, it feels like something you might pass forward. Miriam finishes the scarf. It's crooked, but strong. She wraps it around Esme's shoulders without a word. Esme touches it gently, as if it might dissolve. Clara starts sketching patterns for dresses. She has ideas now, not just repairs, but creations. You give her your old apron to reap her mess. She beams. Joy and Ada make a calendar out of laundry pins. Each day they hang a new one by the door. Some have chalk flowers, some just dots, but they count together, giggling. You watch them. You don't interrupt. There's a rhythm to the laughter now, something earned, something durable. A man tries to follow one of the women home. You step outside before he reaches the stairs. Stand still, eyes level. He leaves, no words needed. That night, Clara lights a candle at every window. Let them know we're not quiet anymore, she says. The whole block watches. No one protests. In the morning, someone has left a coat at your doorstep. With it, a note for whoever needs it next. You fold it carefully. You place it beside the stove. Joy adds a new word to the wall next, and you understand. The story isn't over, it's been passed, thread to thread, hand to hand, woman to woman. The house holds steady through frost. No one leaves, no one arrives, and still the work continues. It's no longer survival, it's routine. Your body moves through tasks like muscle memory lined with peace. You sew beside the fire, Miriam reading aloud from a borrowed book. Ada falls asleep mid-fold. Joy tucks her under the table. Clara mends a hem with thread the color of dried roses. You don't speak of the past anymore. Not because it's forgotten, because it doesn't need to be repeated to be honored. Each scar is known, each silence named. One day you find the ribbon, the original one, Miriam's tucked into your apron. You don't ask who placed it there. You braid it into your hair. It holds. The stove breaks. No warning, just silence where there should be fire. You all gather around it, tools in hand. Miriam holds the pipe. Clara reads instructions from a pamphlet. Joy draws diagrams in chalk dot. It takes hours. Words remain. You add another. Hold. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay. Spring whispers before it shows itself. The snow recedes with hesitation, like someone unsure they're welcome back. Ada plants something in a cracked teacup. No one knows what it is. Joy calls it the maybe flower. Miriam begins baking. It's awful, dense, burnt edges, but the smell is sweet, and she laughs when she drops a loaf. Everyone eats it anyway. Clara organizes a sewing circle. 3 neighbors come. One brings fabric, another scissors. They talk quietly at first, then louder, freer. Their stories fill the corners. You listen, you pour tea, you hand out needles. And when the group leaves, someone hugs you without asking permission. You don't flinch. A letter arrives. No stamp, just folded parchment. It's from Sybil. You read it slowly. She says little. That she hopes the house holds. You burn it. Not out of anger, out of release. And that night, you sew a square into the wall tapestry. You embroider a small black ribbon, a memory dot. The girls add their own, a thimble, a tea leaf, a thread of lace. It becomes a map, not of escape, of everything survived. And at the bottom corner, you stitch one word in the smallest letters you've ever sewn. You wake before the others, always have. The kettle sings for no one in particular. The house is quiet, but not hollow. It holds breath, history, names. You step over Ada's shoes, dodge Joy's scattered chalk, straighten Clara's dress in progress on the mannequin she built from broomsticks and scraps. You sit and mend something small, a glove. She speaks your name before she even opens her eyes. That's new. That's trust you can hear. You boil porridge. You stir honey into one bowl, cinnamon in another. You remember who likes what. You remember because you listen. The calendar on the wall, the one Joy and Ada made, is now decorated with pressed flowers, not chalk, real. Someone's been foraging. Clara brings news from town. A bakery opened. A woman runs it alone. They're saying it's good, that she sings. You write the name down, just in case. The sewing circle grows. You help print labels. The house hums with new industry, not survival, intention. You open a drawer and find another old word. Gone. You nearly tear it up. Instead, you sew it into a pocket. Let it stay. Let it change. Esme plants spinach by the back steps. Ada waters it with a cup too small. Joy names the leaves one by one. You feel a shift, like something ending, but not ending you. You add a final word to the wall, beneath all the others: enough. Then you light a candle, not for memory, for presence, for what you've made, and what, finally, holds you back no longer. Spring breaks open fully. Windows remain cracked, even at night. That no one remembers adding Clara lines, the windowsills with fabric swatches. Joy labels them with names like dandelion, whisper, and moth gray. Ada glues buttons to the edge of her drawing paper and calls them stars. Miriam bakes better now. Sometimes you forget to help because her hands move with such calm purpose, the way yours once did when you first learned to mend. The house sings, not literally, but you hear it in every hinge that doesn't creak. Someone brings a piano, old, mostly in tune. They leave it at the door, no note. You drag it in with Miriam's help. Ada plays one key, then another. She makes no music, but she laughs. That's enough. Letters come now. Real ones. Women asking to stay. Others asking how to build their own. You answer all of them. Clara helps. Miriam dictates. Joy adds flowers. You tell them the truth. There is no magic, just hands and heat and staying. You write the word stay into your new ledger. Esme teaches a class on boiling cloth. 5 women arrive to stay longer. They sleep in the attic, now under patchwork quilts sewn from what others threw away. You don't run anymore. You open doors. That evening, you walk outside, alone. No need to check if someone follows. You just breathe. You look back at the house, slanted, stitched, imperfect, and you know you are the house now, not the bricks, the thing that stayed. Time moves differently now. The mornings are slower, not because they drag, but because no one rushes. You rise to the smell of bread and damp earth. Ada waters her maybe flower like it's a ritual. Joy draws bluebells and hangs them in the hallway. There are still moments of stillness, too deep. A plate that cracks. A visitor who knocks too hard. Miriam flinches once in her sleep. You hold her hand until it stops. You're not healed. You're building something with the pieces. The laundry line never empties. That's a good thing. It means people trust you, that they believe in soap and heat and return. You keep a second ledger now, not for work, for moments. March 2nd. Joy learned how to turn the iron without burning. March 6th. Esme said, "I like it here." March 14th. You laughed in your sleep. You read it to yourself at night, like a book that's writing you back. One evening, Clara finds an old photograph tucked inside a client's coat. A woman, alone, serious eyes, plain dress, no one claims. You place it on the mantle. Family, Miriam says, not hers, not yours, but you leave it there, because in this house, the lost are allowed to stay. You teach Ada how to hem. You teach Joy how to iron pleats. You show Clara how to stretch a garment's life. And one day, when no one's watching, you stand before the mirror and smile without flinching, not out of vanity, out of recognition. You're not who you were. You're not what they tried to make. You're what you chose, over and over, to become. Spring sharpens into early summer. The house grows louder, not in chaos, in fullness. New voices join. One girl arrives with ink-stained fingers, another with only one shoe. You don't ask why, you ask what they need. The piano gets tuned by a woman who never speaks. She nods when it's done, plays. A single note leaves. You keep a map now, not of places, but of people. Each thread sewn into the wall represents a name, a time, a return. Clara helps design the pattern. Miriam embroiders the corners with ivy. Joy adds little paper suns. Ada names each square. One morning, a girl draws a door in chalk on the side of the house. "What's that?" you ask. "The way out," she says. "In case someone needs it." You leave it there. Esme starts sleeping better. You notice. She laughs louder now. Once, you hear her hum. Joy sketches a garden. Not flowers, herbs. Ada gathers jars. Clara builds a shelf. By week's end, you have a wall of healing. Mint, thyme, rosemary, lavender. You label each one with ribbon and ink. That night, you gather everyone. Soup, bread, warmth, no ceremony, just presence. You read the ledger, the real one, the one with moments. Clara's hands shake when she hears her name. Miriam leans her head on your shoulder. Ada yawns, and outside, the chalk door glows faintly under. The street lamp. The house doesn't need locks anymore. It's a map now, and everyone inside a compass pointing forward. It begins like any other. You wake before the sun. The stove needs coaxing. Ada's maybe flower leans in the wrong direction. Joy's sketchbook is missing, found later beneath. The cat you didn't invite, but now feeds itself from your doorstep. Miriam's bread rises perfectly. Clara hums a new tune. Esme brushes your shoulder on purpose, and neither of you flinch. You step outside to hang the linens, and for once, the air isn't heavy. It smells of lavender and coal, and the street is quiet, but not in that haunted way. Just quiet, the kind that feels earned. A neighbor brings sugar, another lemon rinds. A child you don't know delivers a note. Thank you, no name, no return address. You tape it above the stove. There are no fights that day, no slammed doors, no bruised silences, no tears swallowed behind corners. There are only small things, a dropped spoon, a burnt edge on a pie, a splinter, and even those noticed, tended. You mend a dress without pricking your finger. Ada draws a perfect circle. Joy teaches the cat to sit. Miriam writes something down and folds it 3 times before tucking it behind the tea tin. You don't ask, you trust. The chalk door fades slightly in the sun, but it's still there. You touch it once, softly, like a memory. Clara laughs so hard at dinner, she nearly falls off her chair. You catch her by the sleeve that night. No one locks the door, not out of defiance, out of peace, and in bed, you whisper the phrase you never dared to believe. Nothing hurt. Summer settles into the bricks. The walls breathe slower. The girls wear lighter cloth. The air in the house carries heat and honey, and that soft sound linen makes when it dries just right. Joy starts teaching Ada how to read. Clara teaches a neighbor's daughter how to stitch a seam straight. Esme joins a group that meets Thursdays, not for survival, but stories. They call it telling time. Miriam stops writing in the ledger, not because it's over, because it's full. She gives it to you without ceremony. You hold it like bone, like something that used to bleed but now just holds shape. You begin. Another, a new book, clean spine, blank pages. You write only 1 sentence on the first. This house is not a secret. You leave the next page for Clara, then Joy, then Ada, then anyone who needs it. They begin to fill it with words, with drawings, with pressed petals, with thread. One girl embroiders directly onto the paper, a tiny pair of feet. Another just writes, I made it. You tape a photo beside the door, the house, from the street, in morning light. You write on the back, they stayed. That evening, the girls cook, all of them. A pot, 2 large spices, guessed. The flavor chaotic and perfect. Someone brings a violin, someone else a song. You sit on the front step and breathe. You don't count who's inside. You don't need to. They are, and that's enough. You wake with light already in the room. The house is still, not from absence, but from contentment. No panic. No noise to chase, just warmth drifting between linens and tea steam. Miriam has taken over breakfast. You hear her humming something older than the walls. Joy and Ada are already outside, drawing shapes on the ground with soaked chalk. Clara fixes a hem while eating jam with her fingers. You don't rush. You sit, you watch, you live. It's not a special day, not marked on any calendar, but it feels like the kind of day you once thought might never come. One where nothing is owed. You walk through the rooms like they're memories. You're finally ready to remember the cracked tile near the stove, the handprints on the cellar door, the curtain you never fixed because Ada likes the way it moves in the breeze. Each imperfection is a truth, a choice to stay, to keep. After lunch, the girls gather their work. They call it a showing, not an exhibition, a celebration. They display their stitches, their pressed petals, their poems. You sit on the steps and applaud every one. Not because you have to, because you mean it. A woman from 3 streets over arrives with a bundle. I heard you take them in. You don't ask who sent her. You don't ask what she's running from. You take her hand. You lead her in. You give her tea. Clara offers her thread. Joy gives her a drawing. Miriam bakes something new. She cries once, then never again. The house grows quiet again at dusk, but it's not ending. It's only softening. You open your ledger. One last time, you add the final word, rest. Then you close the book and place it on the highest shelf and lie down. Not forever, just long enough, because the house doesn't need you every second now. It remembers what you taught it. It remembers what you taught it. It remembers what you endured. It remembers the names. And so you disappear, not in pain, not in fear, but like thread that's finally run through every seam it was meant to hold. And the door remains open for the next hand, for the next word, for the next story. And thus you fade like steam, softly and full. And so you rest